Hey guys, ZFR back here again today, and today this is going to be my top 5 games of the year video. Now, I'm going to warn everybody right now. I'm going to try to get through this video fast cuz like I've recorded this like 5 times already and something has gone wrong every time that just ruined the entire video and I had to restart it. So yeah, I'm going to hurry up with this time around. So sorry if it seems like I'm going fast. But yeah, my top 5 games of the year. Pretty much the reason this isn't going to be a top 10 games of the year list is simply because like my top 10 games of the year, like I really want them to be games that I felt deserve it and were special and everything. And I honestly can't think of a solid 10 games right now that actually deserve to be on my top 10 games of the year list or that I actually would put there. And that may be because I simply didn't play every single game that came out. Like there are some games that came out that looked really good that I just didn't play, and for that reason, that's why I'm going to give you guys my honorable mentions of games that should have probably made this list but didn't, for either the reason I didn't play them or they just didn't beat the games that are on my top 5 list. So my honorable mentions of 2015 are Bloodborne, Dying Light, and Rise of the Tomb Raider. Now I did play Bloodborne and beat that. I did upload some of it on my channel, but yeah, like it just like at the end of the day, like if I had a top 10 games of the year list, that would have probably been number 6. So yeah. And as for the other two, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Dying Light, just didn't get to play them, but they both look like really good games that I think I would have enjoyed. Like I'm pretty sure I would have enjoyed them. I actually did get to play the demo of Dying Light, so I kind of know how that is. Rise of the Tomb Raider, I played the last one, so I can kind of guess how that's going to be. So yeah, those 3 games are my honorable mentions of 2015, and without further ado, let's get into the actual top 5 list. Now my top 5 game of the year, my number 5 game of the year, is pretty much going to be Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Now, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain was actually my first Metal Gear game, and let me tell you, it was a good way to jump into the series. It's possible, I believe they're saying it's possible this could be the last one, which if it does, that kind of sucks because I'm just now getting into the franchise or series, and I really enjoyed this game. I had a lot of fun with this game, to be honest with you. One thing I loved about the game is that it was serious and it was like kind of comedic at the same time, or comedic. Sorry if that sounded weird, but yeah, it was funny and it was serious at the same time. That's what I really liked about it. And that combination, it just made for a really fun game in my opinion. I had a lot of fun with the game. And I think at the end of the day, that's what really matters in games. Like the amount of fun you have with it, that's what matters the most. So yeah, for that reason, Metal Gear Solid 5 is my top 5 game of the year. that's coincidental, 5 and 5. But yeah, that game was just awesome to me. The open world and stuff were great. The graphics were pretty darn good. Yeah, great game. I love the story. As for the story was a little confusing at certain parts, but overall the story was pretty good in my opinion too. I liked it. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, top 5 game of the year. Now my top 4 game of the year. Now, some of you are going to question this because some of you I know probably don't really like this franchise anymore. But my top 4 game of the year is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Now, Assassin's Creed Syndicate was a really good game in my opinion. Now, in my opinion, I thought the game, I'm not going to say it's the best Assassin's Creed game so far, because the other ones, in my opinion, were really good. But realize that this is only the fourth one I played, and a lot of people claim that Assassin's Creed 2 was the best one. I actually never played the second one. And I guess like it's possible that that's true, but like I really like these ones that have came out lately and stuff. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of Unity, but nobody really was, I guess, simply because Unity felt like a unfinished half-ass game, kind of like. And Assassin's Creed Syndicate, it felt like the opposite of that. Assassin's Creed Syndicate felt like a solid Assassin's Creed game that brought a couple of new features that you actually used a lot and actually changed up the gameplay and stuff to the game, such as the horse-drawn carrots and the what you call it, the rope launcher. Those were some new mechanics to the game that I really enjoyed and stuff, and it really made the experience way better in my opinion. And like overall, like the story was good in my opinion. It wasn't like the best thing in the world or anything, but like I think overall what really carried it away for me was Jacob and Evie. I thought they were two really good characters, especially when they were on screen together. They just made like two awesome characters, and they really just built off of each other, being twin assassins and everything. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, moving on from that, Assassin's Creed Syndicate was my number 4 game of the year, my top fourth game of the year. So moving on to number 3. Now number 3 on my list is Star Wars Battlefront. Now some of you might have expected this to been higher, and some of you might have expected this to be a little lower, or some of you might not even have thought I would have put it on the list at all, but I don't really know how you would have thought that, because you all know how hyped I was for this game. So Star Wars Battlefront, yeah, it's pretty, like, the best way to say this is it's a dream come true for any Star Wars fan. Like, and me, I am a pretty big Star Wars fan. Like, I watched the Star Wars movies a lot when I was a kid with my dad, I think. Yeah, I've watched those. I used to watch those all the time. But at the time, I wasn't like I wasn't crazy into them. I was just watching something that looked cool at the time. But once I got a little bit older, and once the Clone Wars TV show came out and stuff, like I really got into Star Wars and all that. And like it was just it's just a great franchise to me. I can't wait to see the new movie. It's been out since like Friday, but last Friday actually. It's been out since like last Friday, but I haven't been to see it because I'm waiting on a friend to get in town, or a couple friends, so we can all go see it together and stuff. But yeah, so pretty much Star Wars Battlefront, like just the hype behind that right there is because it was Star Wars. And not only that, the gameplay in that game is pretty fun. Like, oh man, like it's great to have a Star Wars game back, and it really feels like a good game. It feels like a solid good game. Some people are worried about the content issue. Like I've said before, like DICE is most likely going to supply that game with a good amount of free DLC along with the paid DLC. So if you don't want to pay for the season pass, there's still a chance you're going to get stuff. You still might get some free DLCs. Like you see what DICE is doing with Battlefield 4 right now. Like that game is still getting free maps and weapons to this day. And that game's almost 2 years old. So yeah, like it's a pretty good chance that game's going to get lots of free DLC. So don't even worry about like that lack of content stuff that everybody's talking about, because that game is pretty solid, and they can only make it better from this point on. And the way I see it, well, I mean, I guess they could make it worse, but they will have to screw it pretty bad. But anyway, moving on to number 2 on this list. Now, some of you might not have seen this coming, and some of you might have seen this coming. But number 2 on this list is Fallout 4. Now, Fallout 4, I've only been playing the game for about a week now. I've had it for about that long, maybe a little less than a week. But let me tell you, so far, this game is pretty fantastic. Like, it's just a good example of a good open world game and what open world game is supposed to be like. Like, the world doesn't feel dead, the world feels alive, and it feels like there's stuff going on in it. And like, just like being able to create your own, like, I love the way they did the character creation, by the way. Like, it feels like you created your own character, but you know they're just not this empty being who just walks around, who you never really hear talk, or just who says like these stupid one-liners or whatever, or you never really feel like you get to know them, or you feel like they're not really just an actual character or whatever. Like, you actually feel like your character is a person in this world, and I love that about the game when you create your own character and stuff. And also, on top of that, there's other stuff in the game, but I don't want to go over everything because I still do owe you guys a review on that game. I'm going to be getting that out. And I also owe you guys a Star Wars Battlefront review, even though that review's like late as freak. But I'll get it out. I'll get it out soon, guys. But anyway, yeah, so freaking Fallout 4, that game's freaking awesome right now. I can't lie, like I'm enjoying the freak out of it. Like, it's honestly definitely deserves second game of the year for me. And it might even make it to first, depending on how the game goes from here on out. If that changes, I'll let you guys know. But so far, like, I think I've got it in the right spot for now. And I have some pretty interesting things to say in the review for that game, so make sure you guys check that out. And by the way, I just want to say, like, so far the story in the game is pretty good too. So yeah, Fallout 4 so far, really enjoying it. That's the number 2 game of the year for me. Now, number 1 game of the year. Now, hopefully, for those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, for those of you who have, you should already know what this is. Like, I mean, I've talked about over and over, and I've made it very well known that this was probably going to be my game of the year, and it looks like that theory held up. But my number 1 game of the year is none other than The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was my very first Witcher game. I was somewhat interested in The Witcher 2, but I did not ever buy it back on last gen. But The Witcher 3, I saw it, and something about that game just screamed buy me to me, and like I just knew that I was going to enjoy that game. I don't know how, but I just had the feeling. I was like, I know this is the game for me. I know I'm going to love this game just by the way it looks. And when I got it, like, it was everything I expected and even more. Like, that game just blew me away. The story was absolutely awesome in my opinion. The characters were fantastic. The freaking characters were pretty much like right around the same level as the characters you met in The Last of Us and stuff, like Joel and Ellie. Like, the characters were absolutely fantastic. So, and that made the story even better than it already was. On top of that, like, just the open world in general. The open world was huge. The same thing I said about Fallout 4. The open world was huge, and it felt like the open world didn't feel empty. It felt like it was alive. There were different communities and towns and cities that you can literally just walk straight into. No loading screens or anything. You can just walk straight in, and that was awesome to me. Like, just going around this world, experiencing it, it felt so freaking real and stuff at times. And don't even get me started about all the awesome enemies in the game. I thought the enemies were something that were really cool in this game. The enemy types, the different monsters Geralt ran into that he had to slay. A lot of people complained about the combat not being the best. I thought it was pretty good, to be honest with you. I thought it was pretty good. The only thing about the combat, it just didn't have, it wasn't, I think people were just mad because it wasn't like something like Batman or Saddle or Mordor where like you. Alright, sorry about that, guys. That's something the video actually stopped for some whatever reason, but that's alright. Where was I? Oh yeah, the combat. Like I felt like people just were the combat on this game, like it was like people just were mad that it wasn't like Batman or Miller Sal Mordor where you had all those different button combinations to press and everything to get different move sets and all that. And that stuff is great and everything, but just because it was right for those games doesn't mean every other game needs them to be right. And I thought the Witcher 3 combat was perfectly fine the way it was. I thought it was good. Like people just were hating on everywhere because it was like bare bones. It was simple. Like Sora, you did do the same thing, and it didn't really evolve in terms of like what do they call it, like as in how it looked. Like that's really all people wanted from the combat. I feel like they just wanted Geralt to have different moves and stuff, which is fair, I guess. Like it could only made the game better, I do suppose. But at the same time, it wasn't something that was needed heavily. Like over time, you did get when you went into your skill chart, you did have different things like upgrading your signs and all that would have made the combat a little bit different in the game. But moving on from combat, I didn't talking about that way too long. The actual open world and stuff, that was great. I already said that. The graphics were something people were people were saying were disappointed about. I don't really get it because people were acting like they were acting like that it was actually going to be possible to make an open world game this big and for it to have insanely good graphics. Like, I mean, I don't know for what reason people expect open world games that are this big to have those majorly good graphics, like something like Killzone or something like Quantum Break or Rise of the Tomb Raider. Those games are smaller. They are smaller in terms of scope, and like they're more linear. Like in these games, they have to put all that power that usually goes in the graphics in different areas. But yeah, so pretty much the graphics in this game, for me, they were fine. They were pretty darn good for the type of game that this was. I've said that multiple times. Now, overall, The Witcher 3 was just an awesome game. Like I said, I honestly recommend you go out and play this game. You need to go get this game if you have not gotten it. I gave it a 10 out of 10 as a masterpiece. That's just what it was to me. Like, I saw it had its problems like all games do, but like overall the game was a masterpiece for me. I didn't have any of the technical problems that people were talking about with it and all that. I had a great time with the game. So yeah, The Witcher 3 takes #1 spot for game of the year for me. So yeah, Witcher 3 game of the year. And that's pretty much all for this video, guys. And those are just my top 5 games of the year. I would love to see you guys put your top 5 games of the year down in the comments. Or if you want to put your top 10, you can do that. Or if you want to just put all the games you played this year and rank them in order, you can do that however you want to do it. But I just would love to see what you guys think. And I mean, overall, it's at the end of the day, just remember, this is my own personal opinion. This isn't I'm not giving off facts or anything here. Like, this is just my personal opinion on these games and stuff, and that's the reason they might be in order you don't agree with necessarily, so don't get upset about that. But anyway, guys, that's all for this video. Don't forget to leave those comments, don't forget to leave those likes, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We are at 58 subscribers. That is awesome, guys. That was such an awesome Christmas present to gain a couple extra subscribers. It means the world to me whenever I do. Let's get it up to 60 soon, guys. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave likes and comments down below and tell me what you guys think, and I will see you guys on the next video. ZFR out, guys.